Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film The Book of Life. One of my biggest complaints with big budget major studio animation is that the character designs usually look the same. There's not much difference between what Pixar does to what a Disney CG film or DreamWorks or Illumination. I mean, there's some difference, but most of the times there's not as much difference as there would be with 2D animated films or with 2D animated television shows. And it kind of gets a little boring, and that's what originally attracted me to seeing a film like The Book of Life, was that the character designs look so different and it looks a lot more promising in terms of animation than a lot of those films do. I know it's supposed to be influenced on like puppets or dolls. It kind of looks like if you took the Flapjack animation and kind of tried to make it more like a big studio CG film and mix them together. But the promise of that is never really fulfilled because the animation in this isn't good enough that you could just watch this film for the animation. And much like the story, this film is based on a combination of Day of the Dead rituals and Mexican folklore. And you'd think that this would be a different kind of big budget CG animated film, but it's not. It really ends up being the same old kind of genre major studio animated film that we've seen a million times before, and it's about as fulfilling as those have become over the years of seeing so many of them. Three friends who as children, Manolo, Maria, and Joaquin, who are considered the three amigos, are always goofing off, and both Joaquin and Manolo have huge crushes on Maria. And then one day Maria is sent off to boarding school, but on that day the ruler of the land of the forgotten and the ruler of the land of the remembered decide to have a bet to pick which guy eventually gets Maria, although, you know, maybe she could get with another guy, but I guess this is a long time ago, so we're just gonna let that go. They were former lovers who loved to make bets with one another, so they make a bet that if the one that the land of the remembered picked, which is Manolo, and then the guy from the land of the forgotten picks Joaquin, and when Maria comes back, they're both much older and Maria has grown into a full adult and they're trying to win her affections, with Joaquin being a great warrior, but he has been given a medal by the ruler of the land of the forgotten, and that medal makes him impervious and very brave, and he's used it to become a great warrior, whereas Manolo has become a bullfighter and is a great musician as well, and they're trying to win her heart until desperate circumstances send Manolo to the land of the remembered after he is tricked, and he has to get them back, and they have to decide how to both save their town and who ends up with the hand of Maria in the end. Having a story based on more Mexican folklore and elements from Day of the Dead would be interesting for a kids film, and it's a lot more daring than I think a lot of major animation studios would be willing to do. And I think this film almost feels like it's being adventurous. The studio who made this, Real FX, their last film was Freebirds, which I didn't see, but I can safely say was not as adventurous as this. So the fact that this is their second feature kind of makes me feel like they're a little more adventurous and experimental than you'd expect from a normal animation studio. The look of it is very distinctive. It gives it a better energy to it. It gives it what feels like is supposed to be a different energy. And the director of this film, Jorge Gutierrez, he said that he wanted the look of this film. He always looked at art of books. Whenever there's an animated film, there's an art of book, in case you didn't know. And if you look in those art of books, there's always these amazing designs that never make it into the film. And he said he wanted the art of book to look exactly like this movie looks. And that's a great idea, and I applaud him for trying to do that. And I think in a way he succeeds. The thing about this film is that it has a lot of promising ideas, but it just becomes a normal big budget animated movie. One of the major problems I have with it is that it has far too many secondary characters who keep getting introduced. You think this should be really about these two guys who are trying to get the hand of this girl and the two afterlife god people who have set up this bet and set up really the plot of this movie. They keep introducing people, and then there's even more people in the afterlife. And by the end of the film, they're cutting to so many people having different lines that it just got overwhelming. Too many characters, too many weird sidekicks with funny dialogue to say. I never really love the sidekick in a lot of big budget animation because they always have to have a funny little sidekick. That can work out. I think it works out in Frozen. I think it can work out in Despicable Me, and they can have a ton of them because the minions are just one entity into itself. When you look at this film, it's just they have so many different kind of characters. It really doesn't work and it kind of overpowers the story. That and their whole like believe in yourself crap. Kids should believe in themselves, but like give it a rest already. The whole reason I wanted to see The Book of Life was to see something different. And it just doesn't really push the envelope at all, really. It kind of does with the design, it kind of does with subject matter this is based on, but it's pushing so hard to just be a familiar kind of animated film that we're all used to. And I kind of wonder, is this like every film from all these different studios? There's no really distinct plot structure coming from any of them. It's like they all have the same format on all of their computers, and every animated film is going to be like that. I kind of have a little faith in this studio. Maybe the thing that made this film special is because of Del Toro and not because of that studio. I guess we'll wait and see on that one, since they've only released 2 movies. They've done some direct-to-video stuff. They did open season 2 and 3, so that's promising. It did feel like kind of that more interesting style, like something like Flapjack. This film kind of just reminds me of what's going on in 2D animation on something like Cartoon Network. Haven't made it to big screen animation. It's like we're kind of like in this weird resting stage where everything has to be like this one way, whereas 2D animation on TV has gone miles away from it. I'm noticing the same complaints I had about How to Train Your Dragon 2, I have with Box Trolls, and I have with this. Nothing is changing, and I think that's not really helping the medium, because if people are seeing the same format over and over again, they're going to be like, oh, well, all these animated movies are the same. And at this point, I'd have to agree with them, unfortunately. I usually disagree with that argument, but if you're going to use the same format over and over again and have this believe in yourself with funny sidekicks, it's very much gotten old, and I think we need to find a different way to do it. Now, certainly that's been going on since like even Dumbo, but Dumbo did it a lot better. Some of the animation was nice, but I think the problem really with it was trying to be too typical. That makes me worried that when you have something so unique and different, that they kind of clamp it down and force it to be the kind of animated movie you're supposed to be. This gives me a little hope in the studio, and a little hope that people will make different character designs and base animated films on different source material. Making a film that had a different character design and felt like it could be a different movie, be a really typical animated film, and be as disposable as that really sounds. So if you have seen The Book of Life and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.